Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you subscribe, but if you haven't yet, please do. So every week I can continue uploading videos where I compare and contrast movies to the books, and sometimes video games they come from, and vice versa, and mixed bag and all that. Today it is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the cult classic that really challenged the meaning of inpatient mental health. When someone can be found not guilty by reason of temporary insanity just for gambling and fighting, and his resistance to the controlled environment actually helped some of the patients more than the control-freak psych nurse ever could. The book tells a story from the Chief Bromden's point of view, how everything is overly controlled and stuffy, how he feigns deafness to make people leave him alone, as well as loosen up around him so he knows all the hospital's dirty secrets. He also has his own internal jargon to describe the psych ward environment that we don't hear in the movie. Patients who are treatable and subject to temporary stays are called acutes. Those who are too disabled to be able to assimilate into society and live independently due to either conditions they were born with or long-term damage done by lobotomies or too many electroshocks are called chronics. And patients who are either wheelchair-bound or bedridden, in addition to being non-responsive, are called wheelers and vegetables. He calls the outside world the combine. None of this is heard in the movie. In fact, for such a primary character, in the movie we barely notice him until the end. The book also includes dreams that Chief Bromden has at night and during treatments, and a few memories from his childhood. Other than that, the book and the movie follow the same sequence of events. That life in the ward really picks up once McMurphy joins them and challenges that tyrannical authority in Nurse Ratched, and in doing so, some of the patients start getting better. And some of the other doctors and orderlies who are usually intimidated by her start to become more confident. They play sports and board games, betting with cigarettes like they're in prison. They sneak out and go fishing with McMurphy's girlfriend tagging along. Then they have a party where Billy becomes a man for the first time in more ways than one, and his stutter goes away until Nurse Ratched threatens to tell his mother what he did with the lady of the evening, and he completely regresses and then kills himself. And that sets off McMurphy, and he physically attacks Nurse Ratched. And she goes to the extreme to regain control over the psych ward by having him lobotomized. And this is where we really notice Chief Bromden for the first time in the movie, when he euthanizes McMurphy with the pillow, so he won't have to spend the rest of his life as a chronic and as Ratched's punching bag. Then he smashes the window and breaks out, and that's where the movie ends. The book ends with Chief Bromden on the road hitchhiking to Canada. And the book never really tells us much about the villain in this piece, Nurse Ratched. From Chief Bromden's point of view, she has a plain face and a pin-up physique, and is an all-around tyrant that nobody crosses. In this story, we don't even get to know what makes her tick. So along comes the writers and producers of American Horror Story with a prequel all about her. In this prequel, Mildred Ratched is an unfortunate product of the foster care system, and she never even attended medical school. She started her nursing career during World War II based entirely on a lie, and was caught euthanizing gravely wounded soldiers and discharged. She lied her way into psychiatric nursing as a means to find her long-lost foster brother and only friend in the world, who is now a condemned serial killer. And as her new career begins, she finds herself in the middle of a soap opera involving a drug-addicted psychiatrist, a rich lady seeking vengeance against him, a vulgar politician looking to make an example of her brother, a power struggle between herself and the existing head nurse, and her very first true love and self-actualization during the bleak days when swinging that way was called a mental illness. We can see a little bit of this Nurse Ratched in that Nurse Ratched as she plays the people around her like a chess game and pulls out all the stops to remain on top of the heap. But in this prequel, she's far from plain looking. She dresses with style, and in some instances is a little bit sexy. But even though this prequel is about the making of Nurse Ratched, she's not the most interesting character. Far from it, in my opinion. My vote for that title goes to Charlotte Wells and all 5 of her personalities. It's also very obvious that Ratched is a feminist piece. All the women are independent, sure of themselves, and graceful in overcoming adversities. And the men are all different shades of hot mess. There's the bumbling hitman Charles Wainwright, the trash-talking megalomaniac Governor Wilburn. There's Dr. Hanover, the histrionic mad scientist with a price on his head. There's Edmund Tellison, who is Mildred's foster brother, and dashing serial killer who has to have his lady friend kill the chicken for their supper. And last but not least, there's little Henry Osgood, the batshit crazy rich boy who self-amputated in a drug-induced haze reminiscent of Mason Verger's downfall in Hannibal. The only man here who isn't a damn fool here is Huck, a World War II vet with facial scars from an explosion on his face, and who only gets what he deserves just before he dies. The Ratched miniseries is only 1 season in, with a second season still on the drawing board that I'm looking forward to seeing what's in store for Nurse Ratched before she crosses paths with Chief Bromden and McMurphy, and what's going to become of Edmund Tellison and Charlotte Wells as season 1 capped off with them hitting the road together, with Charlotte having assumed her 5th personality, Dr. Hanover. And that is all for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and, to a lesser extent, Ratched. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment and smash those like and subscribe buttons. And I'll see you back next week for another viewer request and revisit of The Relic.